Hey, what's up guys? I promised you I'd make another tier list video when I see necessary, as many patches have passed, the meta has shifted, and I feel as if there's many champions that have risen while many have fallen down. So I think this video will give you an idea on both what champions to play in high elo and both for low elo. So I hope you enjoy, and leave a like if you enjoyed. So in higher elo, it's gotten to a point where carry junglers have pretty much fallen out of the meta. It's all about being support for your team, allowing your teammates to survive longer, and to just be appeal for them. So first up we have obviously Nunu. Nunu has without a doubt the best dragon and baron potential, and also you have the amazing blood bow for late game, so your Caitlyn can pretty much 1v9. That's why I permaban Caitlyn. He's just super tanky. The new passive rework where your blue spell does an extra rank, it goes an extra rank up, so at level 6, if you have your blue passive up, your ult can like one-shot anyone. Despite being a full tank, I just feel like that's super broken, so I don't know. If you want free elo, I'd say Nunu's probably the best jungler for me right now, and go ahead and play him. Next up in S tier we have Ivern. I mean, who really is surprised? He's still pretty much permabanned. I mean, Nunu is probably the only champion in S tier that's not permaban, because there's some counterplay around him if your teammates are smart, but for the most part, your teammates aren't smart. Ivern is like extremely hard to counter. He can pretty much 3-buff you on your first rotation no matter what. If your teammates refuse to respond to the invade and you go to their buff and you just get collapsed on, Ivern has the safety assurance of Smite where he just gets your buff for free as long as he can hit the mark on it. But yeah, Ivern is just super good in shield comps, team fighting, and most people don't know how to split push. That means do split push comps, so everyone just team fights, and that's why Ivern with the shield meta is super broken right now. And finally, the last champion for the S tier we have is none other than Zac. So I'm sure you're all aware how frequently he's banned. So this champion has like the longest initiation form I've ever seen. He can elastic slingshot from across the map and then use his ult and then bring your team into his team. So it's really weird. And then of course he has his passive on top of that. So I don't know, and his Q got reworked as well, and it's like so much more CC. It's more reliable, and it just does so much more. The only champ I've only had good success with against Zac is either Warwick or Graves, because Graves can easily dodge the slingshot, and Warwick can just 1v1 him and never die. But yeah, probably better to just ban it or play it. Alright, for our A tier, I feel like these are the only champs that could potentially carry, but in this meta it's obviously harder. Jungle's been nerfed, and there's just junglers that do way more for your team. So first up we have Warwick. Warwick still, I've gone over him. He's still pretty good. I think he's one of the better carry junglers. It's just, once you get against better players, they know how to kite you, they know how to play against you, they know how to use their QSS effectively. So if you're a Warwick player, I'd say stick to him right now. He's probably one of the best 1v1 junglers. Next up we have Kha'Zix. Same thing with Warwick. He has really good teamfight presence. Obviously he got a bit nerfed, but not to the extent of being less stronger than, you know, Elise, Lee Sin, those champions. He can still 1v1 them. It's just which champion gets a jump and the other one that will win the 1v1. But for the most part, League of Legends is about team fighting, and Kha'Zix provides more than champions like Lee Sin do right now. Next champion up is Elise. I mean, Elise is all about early game. Her ganks are pretty much the best in the game right now, I would say. Probably tied with Warwick. But if you get to mid to late game and you don't give your lanes an advantage, Elise falls off really hard. Like, her team fight isn't the best. She's pretty much just a cocoon, and you can chunk a tank. That's literally all you do for like 10 to 15 seconds. But if it gets to that extent and you can like rush Baron because you have Leandri's early game, do a 20-minute Baron, then Elise is really good. But aside from that, late to mid game is trash. Finally, last champion, Graves. So I've still had success with Graves. His win rate's like 46% or something now. But if you're a master Graves player, I would recommend still playing him. He's never banned now, which is nice. But there's been situations where I'm extremely fed and there's just no carry option. I don't have a Lulu, I don't have a Sona, etc. So he's really team dependent. You need at least one player that's also competent. But aside from that, I would still recommend him. So alright, for the B tier we have first off Nidalee. I think Nidalee is really good right now. I've had really good success with her in higher elo. I think my win rate was like 77% in over 20 games in challenger games. It just comes down to being able to be a heal pretty much in team fights, and having a nice early game, denying the enemy jungler. It's just the worser version of Nunu, but stronger 1v1 and really harder to kill, slippery, etc. But for the most part, Nidalee is obviously not as good as other A tier or S tier junglers, so unless you really have nothing else to play, Nidalee is also good, because she's one of the fewer AP champions that are viable right now. Second up, Lee Sin. Lee Sin's been nerfed a lot. Honestly, I think he could be A tier, but I just don't see him enough to the extent of warranting him through A tier and above. But he still has playmaking potential. You know, his ult CD got increased, but he's still good. Just scales like shit, like a Lee's. Next up, we have Shaco. There's only like a few Shaco mains I've seen in high elo. I think Chase is one of them. I don't know if Beautiful Korean still plays it, but yeah. Shaco's still good. His win rate's pretty decent, but there's just not enough in his kit right now for this meta to, you know, be able to succeed. Split pushing is not really meta, and Shaco is more of a split pusher. His kit got nerfed, but yeah, I wouldn't really play him unless you're not very gifted, but yeah. And finally, for the B tier, we have Gragas. Gragas is really easy to play. Issue is he's not that much of a tank. He only has good base damage because, you know, he has 4 damage dealing abilities, but he's really easy to play around if he has no flash up, and his ult, you know, you can't ult immediately now after E flashing, so just counterplay against him, and he's just not that great 1v1 against most junglers. For the C tier, we have Hecarim, Olaf, Rengar, and these are pretty much all worser versions of C tier. Hecarim is terrible in this meta. Like, it's really oriented toward the fact that you need to work for objectives, be able to support your team. Hecarim is just like a dive-on full carry champion. So is Olaf, and so is Rengar. So these champions aren't very good in this meta at all. They're just counteracted by too many meta champions. All the ADCs can play well against them, and all the supports are even better against them. So I wouldn't recommend playing these champions at all. And honestly, just stick to the higher tiers, really. And finally, for the D tier, we have Riot's finest of works on the 2 most recent changed junglers. So you got 44% win rate Kindred and 44% win rate Rek'Sai. So yeah, good work, Riot. Really fascinating changes to them. Don't play them. And finally, I promised you guys I'd make a lower tier bracket, so I'm not going to go in depth on every champion. Obviously, this is not really accurate. I don't play in low elo much, but for the most part, this is what you should play if you want to win. So I hope you guys enjoyed again, and thanks for watching. Have a nice day.